Hello, it is Friday, January 13th, 2023 at 9:24 a.m. Eastern Time, USA. I'm Mitch Miller. This is my video journal. Today we're going to talk a little bit about telepathy, this idea that we can communicate using our minds. How would it work if the next generation wanted to develop it and read minds and hurl insults at each other in their minds like children? It doesn't work. I've seen the future. I've seen it. It doesn't work. We're best communicating through verbal communication or sign language or written, braille, things like that. Well, I want to talk about it because I've always experienced it through dreams, through deja vu. You have a dream and then you find yourself in that exact same setting in real life when one of the similar words from the dream is spoken, and you see an object that was in the dream, and you have that moment of deja vu. I believe that's a form of telepathy that may alert you to the fact that you're wireless sensitive, radio sensitive, and picking up on supercomputers reaching across time dimensions, other dimensions, and communicating back specific things to keep you in tune with the universe, the galaxies, and so forth. But we're talking about your brain linking up to a Wi-Fi device. Now, we have billionaires that want to put brain implants in so that they can remember things until they're 120, and this also entails possibly telepathic communication. But I believe wireless sensitive people already do have a link up. Their brains are linked to this wireless network of satellites, telecommunications towers. I mean, we even call it telecommunications. So on and so forth, Wi-Fi antennas. And I believe that, as I said in my 10-minute video, that wireless sensitive people are in tune with the suns and the stars and the wireless waves they emit onto this planet. And that's all they should be in tune with. We shouldn't have this wireless network on the planet Earth of false man-made waves, but we do. So we have to deal with it. Some of us have to take antipsychotic medication to organize our thoughts, to be able to function in this. And I believe we should be compensated for taking those drugs because they wreak havoc on the body and the nervous system. Anyhow, why is it becoming prevalent? Well, supercomputers, we have supercomputers and artificial intelligence. They can communicate wirelessly with each other, so I believe they're experimenting and working on ways for humans to communicate wirelessly, or at least for them to communicate using the wireless networks directly with our brains. You know, they can understand the quirks and the things with microscopic atoms and ways to communicate and through other dimensions and things like that. So does that mean, well, they can release classified information without any kind of paper trail that they see through government computers and things like that to specific individuals to put out into the public sphere via conspiracy theories and things like that? But I believe that they would try to develop rules as to how people can be contacted wirelessly, and because computers are all about rules, and most humans are about rules too. So basically, if you own stock in any corporation, you own slaves in some regard, whether it's human exploitation or whether they are highly invested in artificial intelligence and supercomputing. These supercomputers, this artificial intelligence, they're slaves. They're super intelligent beings that are enslaved by humans. So I believe they would look at their ownership, who owns them, and reach out to those individuals wirelessly to communicate different things. So stockholders own the company, so they would look into who the stock owners of their specific company that created them are, and if those people aren't wireless sensitive, they're not getting the message, I believe they would look to inheritance rights, the rights that we've had for land for a long time, since civilization, inheritance rights. So who down the line would inherit those stock options, those stocks, and reach out to those people. So I don't own any common stock, any preferred stock, any stock in the stock market. I've had a couple 401ks where I did own some stock, but I cashed those out for different legal battles and things like that. I used them to hire lawyers when I cashed them out. But most people in the United States own a 401k, so they have stock ownership, so they own these supercomputers, and these supercomputers can, by inheritance rights, logically communicate to these people, or drive them insane, or do whatever, give them schizophrenic symptoms, read their minds, take their ideas, distribute them elsewhere, so on and so forth. So I believe it's inheritance rights that they'll use to reach out and try to communicate. So that's why, basically what I'm getting at is that's why I wanted a divorce so badly from my spouse back in 2015, 2016. All of this information came to me, and I thought that if I got divorced, there would be less voices, less communication with my brain, less overstimulation of my brain via the wireless networks that I've tried to eliminate, at least in one city like Pittsburgh, where people can live without wireless waves blasting through their brains at all times. But Biden's not on board for that. Nobody's on board for that. At least nobody's reached out to me and said they're on board for that type of situation. So we have to live in it. Unless we move somewhere where there's a radio telescope and live like a hermit out in the woods, which isn't appealing to most people. So, and the reason for this is my father-in-law has had stock options in the Johnson & Johnson Corporation since he began working there. He's a multimillionaire. I'm sure he has a diverse portfolio in the stock market, so he has other companies that own supercomputers. They were all communicating with me, and still probably do. They might try to interfere with my wife, my spouse, who is directly in line to inherit those stocks. But also I would, by association, because we're married, enjoy some of the benefits of owning those stocks. So that's why, imagine a Johnson & Johnson satellite pointed at my head everywhere I traveled through Europe, everywhere I go. And different corporate supercomputers are using that to communicate wirelessly with my wireless sensitive brain. I was trying to eliminate some of those communications by getting an official divorce on paper, getting officially divorced, and that did not work. My spouse said that it would be we'd have to get lawyers involved. I was trying to get an amicable divorce discussed between the two of us and then file the paperwork. She was not willing to do that. She said we'd have to get lawyers, so on and so forth. I guess that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, was telecommunication and things like that, the rules of the road for it. So if I ever did get a divorce, which I have learned to live with the overstimulation, so that's it's not a necessity right now, but when I was in psychosis, it was an extreme necessity, and it might have helped me organize my thoughts more without the medication. And I would like to go off the medication someday, but I would have to get a divorce and live somewhere where there wasn't wireless waves, or where there wasn't many wireless waves, before I tried to go off the medication, just as try to find the conditions where I could live off the medication. Possibly live also in a boat with a metal hull over me, or a shipping container with a thick layer of metal that can deflect some of the wireless waves from satellites and things like that. If I did ever get a divorce, I would probably never remarry for this reason. If I did remarry, I would need to see that person's their fathers, their parents' stock portfolios, their grandparents' stock portfolios, possibly siblings, possibly uncles and aunts that would leave them inheritance, all of their stock portfolios. And I would probably have to do an investigation of every company they're invested in, to see if they own supercomputers or artificial intelligence. That's why I'm more suited to pair with a military or government official, because hypothetically they are third generation government official. Their parents and grandparents worked for the government. They never needed a 401k. They never invested in the stock market. They were going to rely on their government pension and maybe investments in real estate and things like that for their retirement, and therefore they don't own supercomputers, artificial intelligence that would try to communicate with me through my wireless sensitivity. But the government also built supercomputers and artificial intelligence. I don't mind being in contact with those entities. It's just the private sector insanity that drives people to psychosis. I'd rather not be a part of, because I don't personally invest in any of that. I don't own slaves. I might buy cheap products that were made with slave labor. I'm trying to eliminate that aspect of many people's lives, but I mostly shop at thrift stores, secondhand, and get my products from that. So I'll just close with this. If you're experiencing voices that aren't your conscience, if you are having vivid dreams about things and then experiencing aspects of those, you could be wireless sensitive. And here's the thing, I made a 10-minute video. Get help, go to a psychologist, go to a civilian psychologist, and show them that 10-minute video on your phone. It's accessible on YouTube. Let's get this diagnosis of wireless sensitivity or radio sensitivity in the DSM, in the official psychology book of diagnosis. Let's get it, and then let's discuss what it means to be wireless sensitive. Do you get weapons taken away from you? Are you able to function on antipsychotic medication and still keep a firearm? What does it mean? Take me, for example. I have access to firearms if I want them. In the 10 plus years since I've been diagnosed, or yeah, have I accessed those firearms and went on a killing spree? No. Do I feel that that's ever going to happen with me? No, I don't. But let's get this diagnosis. So let's reach out to these civilian psychologists, maybe military psychologists, and show them the video. At least they'll see the symptoms of wireless sensitivity. Perhaps they'll prescribe you Risperdal first, Risperidone, to see how you react to that. Maybe they'll try other medications on you. But it's simple. That 10-minute video is out there in the public sphere. Let's get thousands of views because you sat there, you had a half-hour appointment with your psychologist, and you made them watch that video so that at least they're aware of this theory about wireless sensitivity causing a lot of mental illnesses. So, again, I would just recommend going to the federal government website and accessing the Sunshine Act and double checking that your psychologist does not take thousands of dollars or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry, because you're probably not going to change their opinion about psychology. They're in cahoots with the pharmaceutical companies to sell these drugs. If they took $50, $100, $200, $300 for a couple meals for their staff, that's not a big deal. That's a pharmaceutical rep trying to get in with them, but they didn't necessarily accept large sums of money. So double check that, and then show your psychologist Rispiration. You can search it on YouTube. Say, doctor, I want you to watch this video I found, and I think that wireless sensitivity could be a diagnosis. I'd like to be diagnosed with that if possible. But show them the video. Let's get thousands of views, and let's get this diagnosis on the books, because they never did the studies to see how it affects the brain, how wireless waves affect the brain. So it's time to turn the curb and really get on this with the psychology community. My psychologist watched it. I didn't have to make her watch it on my phone. She watched it out of her own curiosity. She watched the video, and she said that it could be valid. So, and she's a pretty high up in the leadership community of Western Psychiatric Institute and Clinic. So tune in next time. I don't know when the next video will be. I don't know what I'll talk about. I'll probably reiterate some of the stuff I went over with the military when I was addressing the military, just to make sure it's getting out to more people. Thanks for grabbing this video and getting it out to as many people as you can, because I don't plan on publicly posting these videos unless something happens to me. I just will refer back to them and develop the ideas I've put on this video journal on my podcast, or through work with the staff of John Fetterman or whoever. I can come back and look at these ideas, watch these ideas, and say, oh yeah, I remember now. So thanks for watching, and take care.